Today, we're going to make chocolate chip cookies, one of my favorites. Make sure that you wash your hands. The first thing we need to do is preheat our oven. The recipe says 375 degrees. I've already done that. Let's check to make sure that we have all of the ingredients that we need first. I have flour, baking soda, and salt on my recipe. I have flour, I have baking soda, and I have salt. First three ingredients. I also need butter, sugar, and brown sugar. I have my butter, I have brown sugar, and I have regular white sugar. Next on my recipe, vanilla extract, eggs, and here is my vanilla. Here are my 2 eggs. And here are my chocolate chips. I need 2 mixing bowls, a smaller one and a larger one. I need small measuring spoons for the little things. And I need measuring cups for the bigger things. I'm also going to use a sifter for my dry ingredients. I'll let you watch how I do that. We also need something to mix up our dough. You can use a hand mixer, the kind that you plug in, or you can use something else. You can use a spatula, you could use a dough whisk, or I have this handy dandy tool that I'm probably going to use. My recipe is asking for 2 1/4 cups of flour. Let's find those measuring cups. This is the 1 cup. It does say 1 cup right here. And this one is the 1/4. So I will need to fill up 2 of these for 2 cups and 1 of these for the 1/4. When you're measuring flour, it's a good idea to use a spoon and spoon it into the cup. That way it doesn't pack down too tightly and you don't end up with too much flour in your recipe. Now that it looks like I have enough flour in my cup, I'm going to level it off. Using my knife, I'm just going to push the flour until it's nice and level, just like that, back into my canister. So this is 1 cup. I need 2 1/4. So I need 1 more of these. I put my 2nd cup of flour in. Notice I'm using the sifter. I'll show you how that works in just a moment. We've put 2 cups of flour in. Now we need the 1/4 and adding it to my 2 cups of flour. See? It says to add flour, which we did, baking soda, and salt. How much baking soda do we need? 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. Oh, I can use the same measure. Let's do it. So here are my spoons for small measure. And remember it said 1 teaspoon, here's my 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So making sure that I have the correct item, baking soda, 1 teaspoon. I'm going to reach into the box and get a teaspoon of baking soda. Can you see that little flap? I'm going to use it to level off the top of my baking soda. Convenient. Now we also need 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to measure the salt over the bowl just in case I spill. I'm going to use an extra cup. So I'm going to use the pour side. This is the shake side. This is the pour side. I'm going to use the pour side to fill my teaspoon with some salt. I know it might seem see, I did spill a bit. It's a good thing I used my cup. I wouldn't want all of that salt in my chocolate chip cookies. You might ask, why are we putting salt in chocolate chip cookies? Salt is a flavor enhancer. It helps things to taste better. It enhances the other flavors in things. So now I'm going to add my salt. Now I'm going to use the sifter. I'm gently going to tap this against my hand. You do not have to do this step. You can put all of these things directly into the bowl if you like. I enjoy using the sifter. I think it's fun. And if you notice, it caught some of these pieces of the baking soda that were a little too chubby to get through. The next step of our recipe says, in a large mixing bowl, beat the butter, sugar, brown sugar, and vanilla until creamy. So let's measure those out. How much butter do we need? We need 2 sticks of butter. Our recipe calls for 1 cup of butter, or 2 sticks. On most sticks of butter, the label has measurements already written out for you. So if I needed to measure 2 tablespoons of butter, I would just cut it at that line, rather than having to stuff it into one of these. Also, it tells me that this line means 1/4 cup, this line is 1/3 cup, and the entire stick from here to here is a 1/2 of a cup. That's why the recipe asks for 2 sticks of butter to make 1 cup. 2 sticks of butter, which equals 1 cup. Next, the recipe calls for granulated sugar. That's white sugar, the stuff that you're used to seeing. And it's telling me that I need 3/4 of a cup. It also says I need 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar. I'll show you how to do that. 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. I had to get another set of measuring cups because my colorful ones don't have a 3/4 cup. I could have used 3 of these, but this is easier. There it is. And add that. And then remember it said 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar. Brown sugar has a lot of moisture in it. So we need to push it or pack it down into our measuring cup because that's what it asked for. So I'm going to scoop my brown sugar and I'm going to press gently on it with my fingers. As you can see, it's almost like wet sand. Actually looks a lot like wet sand. And I can feel that it's packing down into that 3/4 of a cup. Packed brown sugar. Watch how it comes out of the cup. Again, it's like being at the beach and playing in the sand. Isn't that fabulous? Cooking is so fun. We need 1 teaspoon. Here's my vanilla. And here are my small spoons. Again, I'm going to measure this over something else, just in case I spill. This one is my 1 teaspoon. Let me give that just a little shake. And fill up my teaspoon with the vanilla. Careful. There we go. Now we need to do a little work. I'm going to get my tools and mix this up until it looks creamy. So I started mixing it up by squishing up the butter and pressing it into the other ingredients. I'm going to mix it like this for a few minutes. So I've been mixing and mixing and mixing, and now you see it looks creamy. Add eggs 1 at a time, beating well after each addition. Okay, let's take one of the eggs. I'm going to break it in here. Now I'm going to add this in by itself. Now that first egg is well incorporated. I'll add the second. And mix that one in. So I've worked in both of my eggs, and you'll notice I switched tools. I've moved now to using my spatula. Now we need to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. Using my spatula, I'm going to mix those together gently. I've incorporated all of my flour mixture into my wet mixture. The last ingredient is, that's right, the chocolate chips. Yes, the whole bag. Now these, we also have to be gentle with, because I want all of these chocolate chips in my cookies and not on the floor. So let's gently fold those into the dough. The recipe says to drop by tablespoonfuls the batter onto an ungreased cookie sheet. I've actually lined my cookie sheet with some parchment paper. You don't have to do that. So using my large spoon, I got this when I was in France, I'm going to scoop up a big tablespoon full of cookie dough and just use my finger to plop it on here, making sure that each of these cookies is about the same size. I could use something called a cookie scoop, but I don't have one. They look like an ice cream scoop, only they're made for cookie dough. I like the idea that they might not all be the same size. Then you know for sure that somebody made these in their own kitchen. And here's the last one on that cookie tray. I have plenty of cookie dough to make another tray of cookies. The next step is to bake them. My recipe says 9 to 11 minutes or until golden brown. And remember, I had preheated the oven before we started. so it's ready for the cookies to go in. Okay, here they go. Cookies are in the oven. While my cookies are in the oven baking, I like to clean up so that when they're done, all I have to do is eat them. So now our cookies are out of the oven and I've let them cool for just a few minutes. So I'm going to take them off of the cookie sheet and put them on a plate. Aren't they beautiful? They smell so good. And I have to admit, I did already have a taste. They are delicious. Notice they're not all the same size, and that's okay. Things don't have to be perfect. They all taste the same. Chocolate chip cookies. I hope you make some. They're fun and delicious.